Newbie to funded trader week 2. This week has taken me to the highest highs and the lowest lows. I did know trading wasn't going to be a cakewalk right from the start, but honestly, nothing can prepare you for the emotional kidnapping of trading, or the fact that there's an agent inside all of us just waiting to take over and go on tilt. It can be so satisfying, but at the same time, the most frustrating thing in the world. But even with all these ups and downs, I still ended the week green with a total of...
All right, this week was kind of hard because I do now know what a really good setup looks like in theory, but rarely do they ever have that textbook setup on the charts. There's a lot of nuances that come with every single trade, and if you don't notice them, it's going to be a problem. Like counter trend trade, risky, misread a wick, stopped out, neglect the higher time frames, cooked. So this week I've done my very best to only take trades that I was super confident would play out.
So day one was a bounce off support. It had a really big rejection to the downside. The candle closed small body green back into the range. I then waited for that to retest on the next candle. It did flip, and then I entered on the break of the previous week. But it did dance around that entry for basically the whole candle and didn't really look too strong. So when it did push up to its own wick, I closed the trade. I did consider taking partials, but it really didn't look strong enough to let any of it run. So anyway, it was a win, $107. So the second trade of the week looked like a good bounce off support on the 30 minute, more so than the 15. There was a big rejection to the downside. The candle closed small body green back into the range. I waited for the retest on the next candle, and there was a massive attempt to move down, but it failed. When it flipped green, I entered on the break of that previous week, and it moved right into profit. And like a greedy little piggy, I moved my stop loss into profit, and it came back down, took me up for a profit of $67 before continuing up for another 500 ticks. And that means I've missed out on about $2,600. So I took 3 trades on Wednesday, the first being a bounce off resistance, a red printed with a big rejection wick. The next candle had a massive rejection wick to the upside, and then that flipped red. That's when I entered it, but it retraced and danced up around my entry before hitting my stop loss. I did realize as I was in the trade that this was one of the new setups that our mentor had put in the course with price action like this. I just really needed to wait for that candle to close, which then would have given me the opportunity to see that small body green print with a giant rejection wick above. So that would have meant that the next candle retest, after a retest, I could have entered on the flip and it would have played out. Almost everyone in the mentorship caught this one, and I was just way too early. So anyway, it's a loss of $190 on that one. The next trade that I took on Wednesday was the exact same setup as the loss that I just went over, but this time I knew exactly what to do. It was a bounce off resistance. I let the next candle print small body green and then entered on the flip of the one after. I ended up closing this trade for $260 in profit to cover the previous loss and a little profit. It did go further, but I just wanted to secure that profit and cover the loss from before. A little bit greedy, but I did want to have a green day after that big loss in the morning. The last trade on Wednesday was a break of resistance at all-time highs on gold. It hadn't technically broken out on futures yet, but Forex was already showing the move, and being at all-time highs, it was making very strong moves up. So I waited for the retest and I entered as the candle pushed through resistance. It was a little risky, so I really only held this for a few minutes. It was a quick little rat scalp of 15 ticks for a $280 win.
So I've still got a bit to go before I get to the $3,000 to pass the challenge, but these last few days have really made me feel like I'm making some good progress at least. So after the first 3 days of trading this week, my progress towards making that funded challenge complete is $508. So now that I'm confident using the platform and what an actual good trade setup looks like, I've realized it's really just a matter of sizing up to get more profit on each trade. So there's really no difference in analysing a trade that can make only $10 or $10,000. At the end of the day, a good setup is a good setup. So now I'm just trying to focus on getting really good trade setups and then gradually sizing up, because then the rest just takes care of itself once you've found a really good trade.
So this week off the charts, I spent a full day out and about with my daughter on Father's Day. We caught the ferry from Manly over to the city. Now, I've made this trip many times over the years before, but not recently, and it's easy to take it for granted, to be honest. I mean, look at the views you get simply on a commute to the city. If you've not made this trip before, it's definitely worth making the effort. We then got the light rail up to my favourite fast food burger spot, Five Guys. It's relatively new in Australia, only a few years, and it's not too many locations, so they definitely sting you with the price. I'm sure it doesn't cost this much in the States, that's for sure. Anyway, we don't come here all that often, and it's always good to get a bacon cheeseburger down the hatch. Plus, it's all you can eat fries essentially. We ordered 2 regular fries and got an entire bag full. We didn't even put a dent in them, and we ended up throwing most of them away, so you can't complain about the quantity that you get for the price, I guess. But it was a really awesome day out and good to get away from the charts for a little bit. So just as you start to feel more confident, trading will punch you right in the face. Thursday was an absolute bloodbath for me. 2 losing trades in the one session and locked out of my account after I hit my personal daily loss limit. What a day. So the first loss was a bounce off support. It looked good on the 30 minute, 15 just okay, but I was buying into choppy price action to the left, which was an absolute rookie mistake from the beginning. Just a stupid, overconfident trade all round, and I paid with a $130 loss on that. The next loss was in the same session, but in fairness, it was a very strong breakout on the 15, 30 and 1 hour. So I went in pretty heavy with double my usual contract size of 20 micros, but I made the mistake of taking the trade way too early. It did retest, but I wanted to catch it so bad that I didn't give it long enough to breathe. The contract size was also way too big. So as the trade went down into drawdown, my personal daily loss limit got triggered and closed the trade basically even before halfway to my stop loss, which obviously means my lot size was too big. Just a greedy pig of a trade, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway. The trade never played out. It had all the hallmarks of a really good trade, but sometimes trades just don't work out. The last trade was on NFP day, which is basically just an indicator of the economy strength in the US, which does affect the market heavily. It can be incredibly volatile. So as soon as the market opened, the first 15-minute candle shot up 350 ticks with no bottom wick at all. I definitely wasn't interested in trying to catch that. It's simply a gamble. So I waited for it to settle down a little bit and print some red first. So once there was a resistance formed, the next candle retested the highs, came down again towards a possible entry. I gave it a little time to breathe and took an entry after the break of the previous body. Normally I'd wait for the break of the previous wick, but it was quite far away, and only because NFP had moved up so much, I thought it had the potential to at least retrace and fill some of that range. And because it was NFP, I had a very tight stop loss. I wanted out of this trade if it broke its own body again. But it continued down fairly well and I got to my full TP. But instead of closing the trade, I trailed my stop loss right up to my original take profit because it had moved further down. It still continued down further and showed me some weakness after that further down. So I did close it, but the risk did pay off. And it ended up being my biggest trade ever of $577.
Alright, my progress towards being funded on this challenge after the second full week of trading. I had 4 nice green days and 1 really big red day, which did set me back a little bit. But the total now is $618, which I'm actually honestly pretty happy with, given that this is my second week of trading ever.
But also, if you look at the stats in the back end of Topstep, my average losing trade is bigger than my average winning trade. But I'm still winning more than I'm losing, so with the 61% win rate, I'm still technically profitable. The big lesson for this week also comes from looking at the stats on Topstep. It's really clear that most of my losing trades happened within the first 2 minutes of the trade, and the winners are over 2 minutes plus.
So I think that giving trade setups I'm looking at a little more time to breathe may help me avoid taking trades that have a little less potential. And once I'm in a trade, don't be afraid to let it run to give me the best chance of taking my full take profit.
So the game plan for next week is to try to be a little more patient with my entries, and also once I'm in a good trade setup, letting it hit my take profit. I've also looked at my trading journal and I've actually only let 3 trades play out and hit my full take profit, which means I'm either not confident in the trades that I'm actually in or just being greedy. So I'm really going to want to try and work on this next week. That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you got any value from the video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Cheers, guys.